Hello, and welcome to the second ever episode of the Planet Knit podcast. I'm your host, Silvani, Silvani. You can find me with that username on Ravelry and most places, but on Instagram, I'm Silvani_knits. So find me there, and sometimes I post. So I guess I got pretty good feedback on my last episode, so here I am again. I've decided to keep going. Hopefully I won't sound too scatterbrained this episode. I've got some stuff going on that I'll put in the life section of the podcast, life support. Again, this is kind of a space-themed podcast, so I'm kind of going with that. I kind of want to talk about that at the end because otherwise, what happens is I bore all you people who are just here for the knitting. If there are any of the people like that. I want to give you the option, basically. So, I guess I'll start off then with my works in progress or what's in orbit. I feel kind of bad because I thought I was going to finish this and I don't really know what happened. I just wasn't as productive as I wanted to be. And Nenier is still a whip. So I was going to graft it before the podcast, and then I was like, I'll just graft it after and then block it and then take pictures, and then you all have a nice blocked finished object and not like a, oh hey, this literally just came off my needles 5 seconds ago. So I've even picked out the provisional cast on because you're supposed to graft it, and I know some people do like a 3-needle bind off or something, and that kind of leaves like a seam, which I don't think really matters with cowls, especially if you like have longer hair or something like I do, where you just put the seam in the back. But I figure I graft it because I know how, and it'll look nicer, and also, my mom has called dibs on this, so it has a recipient now. But I should have expected. I mean, my mom loves everything I knit, and she especially loves cowls, so she gets it. But here's what I've got. It's folded in half. I don't know if you can see, but I've got oops, if that wasn't too loud. On my needles, I picked out the provisional cast on. I used the crochet one, and so now I'll hold these needles together and graft. Let's hold it there. So it's almost done. I'm kind of excited that it's done now because it was getting tedious. It wasn't like I really enjoy the pattern. It's just I was ready for it to come off the needles, so that's exciting. In terms of finished objects, aside from my almost finished Nenier, so what's landed is so this is a pattern by Tracy Percher, Tracy GP on Ravelry, and this was published for the Fiber Factor, which aired last year. It was kind of like a knitting design kind of project runway type thing from Skacel, and I think they're who does Addy needles and a bunch of yarn name brands like Haiku and some of the other ones. And I really enjoyed watching it. It was a lot of fun. And so now this year they're doing knit-alongs. I think that after they finish all the knit-alongs, they might do another season. But I haven't heard anything about that yet. So if they're watching, which they probably are, I should get on that because I really want to watch more. There are too few knitting TV shows, in my opinion, which is why podcast exists. So about this pattern, it is huge. I mean, it's okay. So it's a jacket. You can't see all of it because I'm not gonna like stand up and walk around. There are pictures on my project page where you can see the whole thing. But it's a jacket, but it's not really a jacket because it doesn't have sleeves. Instead of sleeves, it has a cape. And so if I put my arms out like this, you can see I've got this cape in the back, and it looks like a jacket. I mean, when I've got it down like this, it just looks like a jacket. It's also got a hood. A big hood. They have the option of a smaller hood, but I like the big one because then I can just kind of like like the peak sits perfectly on my head, so that when I put the peak on the top of my head, like on very top, it doesn't cover my eyes. So it's perfect once you get it situated. You just can't like fling it onto your head like I just did and expect it to sit right. So there's a herringbone border. As you can see, there's a the seam has a like 3-needle bind off that was used here, but it's a special one that Tracy puts in there so that the seam looks neater. And then there's a herringbone edge that this is doubled over, and there's all this is double knit. So the main body is like double knit with a herringbone edge, and it is really nice. I mean, it is. I know my hair is all messed up. But it is really squishy and really warm and just perfect. So I love it, and I've worn it out a couple times, and I've worn it in a couple times, and I'm just really happy with it. So this is a large project. It took me 2,600 yards. I think the pattern calls for about 3,000, but I was using a slightly heavier weight than the pattern calls for. It calls for Haiku Kenzie, which I worked with for a project for a shawl, and I wasn't incredibly thrilled with it. I mean, it's good, it's just not my favorite worsted ever, if that makes sense. Haiku has really excellent blends, though. They do like Kobasi, I think, and Simplicity and Kenzie, and you should look these up if you're in the mood for, like, if you just want all your fiber to be thrown into a mixing pot to achieve a certain effect. Like, Kenzie's kind of like a sophisticated Tweedy effect, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of like handmade but not homemade, you know. And then Simplicity is really soft and machine washable, I think, and kind of awesome. And then Kobasi is good if you can't have wool, I think. So anyway, it calls for Haiku Kenzie, and I opted to use Tipsy Sheep Waisted Worsted instead because it's so squishy. I love it so much. I think I talked about that last time, so I won't rant about it again. But if you get a chance, you should definitely sign up for a month of Tipsy Sheep Waisted Worsted, and probably Socktails too. I've used that, and it is amazing. Like, it is so durable, and it doesn't fuzz, and it washes perfectly. You just check out Tipsy Sheep. Check it out. I will probably say that every episode. Just a warning. But I'm a huge fan of, I have several name brands I'm a huge fan of, and I just go with that. But that's what I finished, and it took forever to dry. Forever and ever. It was not dry for days. And then it wasn't dry when I took it off the blocking mats, because my parents were coming to visit, and of course I had like the blocking mats on their guest area where they were going to stay, and so I had to like, it's like, it's wet, I don't know what to do with it, but it all worked out, and it's blocked, and it's gorgeous, and there's a hood and a cape, and it's just awesome. I love it. So next I wanted to do my I guess I usually do a launch pad, which I think I forgot to include in this show notes last time. Which is okay, because I don't think I really include that much information, but basically I just like to say what the next thing I'm going to cast on is for my launch pad, which is needle adjacent projects, and that is, again, since I haven't finished Nenier, I'm going to cast on the neon ski bonnet next. So I don't know when I'll finish that. I have to do a couple of rows on my temperature scarf to get caught up. So I'm thinking that like neon ski bonnet will be like a Friday thing, Saturday thing. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing like on Saturday. Halloween and plans and stuff. I'll cover that in life. But yeah. So that's my next thing. And then I like to do my UFO spotlight. So anything that is unfinished that hasn't been finished for a long time and won't be finished for a long time. I just don't want to bore you with like a 5-hour long works in progress rant every time, so I'll just cover what is unfinished and why, and then I'll talk about it again when I finish it, and hopefully that'll be more entertaining. So what I want to show you is, I feel like I've mostly talked about knitting, and what I want to show you is cross stitch. because I know that there are a lot of people out there that like cross stitch, and I like cross stitch. I just almost never do it, and that needs to change. But so this is a cross stitch that I got. It was gifted to me as a kit when I was 16. So that was 5 years ago. Yeah, I just told you my age. That's not graceful of me, but that's okay. You can know that. So basically it's hummingbirds all over it, and it's almost done, and it's been almost done for years, and it will never be finished. No, I'm hoping to finish this year. Hoping. But there's only 2 months left, so we'll see. But this is my hummingbirds. This is just, I've got this frame that like curls it up around, and there's like a slit, and I got it like whatever craft store. This is my back. I don't know if that's relatively clean or messy. You can judge me accordingly, but I don't really care. Or just give me advice. If you're like, that sucks, you should do it this way instead, I will take advice. But I've got hummingbirds, and it actually wraps around this a lot, so I figured it'd be easier than unraveling this is to just show you the chart real quick. And what I like to do with charts, cross stitches especially, but also with knitting and anything else, is highlight them. It makes it so much easier to tell what's already been done and how much left you have left to do. So this is the chart. And as you can see, I just have like a group of flowers, oops, wrong side, up here that I have to do, and then I have to do the border and some of the like regular stitching that's not cross stitching. You know what I'm talking about, the like outlines. So I like cross stitching. I don't like it as much as knitting because it's not as functional. And I'm an engineer, so everything has to be functional, which makes it really hard to get me Christmas presents because I usually ask for like cash or toilet paper. But I'm not a huge cross stitcher. I really enjoy it. I'd like to do more of it, and I think it'll become more functional for me now because now that I have my own place, I'm not gonna be like not knowing what to do with things, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I won't just be framing them and hanging them on my wall. I can make a pillow out of them or something. I used to do that, but there was no point in it for me because it would like decorate my mom's house. So I was just like, well, that's nice. Now that sits on a chair. But I think maybe it would be a little more, I don't know, encouraging if I could actually do something with the finished object. Which is why I like knitting and spinning the best, and then after that I probably like crochet, and then after that I like cross stitch. Crochet for me is just basically like, I don't want to say this because I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think it's basically just lame knitting. I feel bad for saying that, but no, I think that crochet is really great for things where you need structure, like amigurumi and stuff, and I want to make more of those. But my default is knitting because it's stretchier, which tends to work better for garments. But yeah, no, crochet definitely has usefulness that knitting doesn't. I just like knitting better, personal preference. But yeah, I digress. So my next thing is I wanted to do a spotlight. If you missed the first episode or if you just don't want to watch it because first episodes always suck, I want to do like a spotlight for my favorite. Like, instead of doing a bunch of shout outs to a bunch of things I like, or like an enabling section, or like a podcast shout out section, instead of spending all this time doing that, I just wanted to pick one per episode. So when I pick one, it's not because they're necessarily my favorite podcast ever. Right now I'm kind of trying to go in order of how long I've been watching them, because I feel like if I've watched 3 episodes of a podcast, or 10 episodes of a podcast, maybe I don't really know that person as well as I think I do, and I might recommend them and then have everybody be like, oh. But not saying that would be the case, but I'm trying to kind of go with the ones I have a more firm knowledge of, so that I can kind of, I mean, I'll get into the more recent ones I've discovered. I have so many podcasts. I mean, if you want to see what I'm watching on YouTube, I have a watch later queue, and that's what I use for all my podcasts. So you can just see that and see a bunch of them. I also try to like and subscribe to people that I like on YouTube and want to see more from, which is kind of the definition of those things. But basically, I just kind of want to do one per episode because I feel like sometimes when I watch a new podcast, like a brand new one where there are a couple episodes in, they shout out like 50 podcasts. I'm sitting there going like, well, I can't catch up on all of those, you know. So what I'd like to do is just talk about maybe one per episode. Same with products. Otherwise, everyone will go broke all the time. That happens to me. I've spent a lot of money because people are like, "Hey, I got this and this and this." I'm like, I have to have that. But yeah, I think it works out better for everybody if I do a spotlight instead of just listing all the things I like, because that would take a while. So for this week's podcast spotlight, last week was Hops and Hanks. They're the first podcast I discovered that got me into watching podcasts. I think that the next one that I really got into was Sort of a Knitter. And that's SWORD of a knitter. That's Josh. He is from the Midwest, like me, and he is very, very high energy. So it took me like 2 or 3 episodes to get used to his pace. So if you decide to watch Josh, watch a couple episodes. Don't just watch one and say like, I can't handle this, and then run away. Because I definitely, the first 2 or 3 episodes, I had to be in a specific mood to watch Josh's podcast. And then after I got a couple episodes in, I got acclimated to his pace of talking and his energy level, and then everything was great. But he's a very positive person. So if you are having a bad day, listen to Josh, and you will like be happy. I mean, that he just forces you to be happy. I feel like I'm describing this in a way that makes him sound, I don't know. But my point is, it's a good podcast, and it's a great podcast, and you should watch it. It's just, give it a chance, you know, give it a couple episodes to get used to, because I'm an introvert, and I feel like Josh is a textbook extrovert. And sometimes when I watch the podcasts of extroverts, I'm just like, whoa, you know, I have to slow down, take a step back, and like, then dive into it. But yeah, that's your warning. And you'll see why. But every episode is different, so definitely watch 2 or 3 before you make a decision about whether that's the one you want to watch. Some episodes he's more mellow, and some episodes he's really like spastic or like hyper and jumps around from topic to topic. He talks about tea. So if you enjoy tea, you should watch his podcast. And if you don't enjoy tea, then you'll learn something about tea, and you can learn how to enjoy tea, or you can just enjoy his descriptions and reactions. Because I think that, you know, like Amelia and Hops and Hanks, he and she both of them have a really great way of describing things. It just makes it fun to listen to. And I really enjoy his podcast. So he always says interesting things and has interesting things going on. And another thing is that he also has designs. So if there's anything going on with those, you'll know about them from his podcast. His designs, he has a lot of really great designs. He is very much a shawl designer primarily, and he loves geometric patterns. So he will talk about those. And if you're like very much a geometric shawl person, like early Stephen West, I want to clarify there and say that I mean early Stephen West. But Josh also has a couple of patterns for like mitts and socks, and they're also really awesome. So yeah, you should check it out. And I'll talk about that more a little bit. But I want to do a product spotlight too. While we're doing spotlights, I want to spotlight, since this is a space themed podcast, I would feel bad if I didn't spotlight this person in the first few episodes. And you should totally check this out because it is awesome. Okay, so the brand I'm talking about right now, and I'm gonna pull up a really I don't want to say boring skein of yarn, but a staple. It's like, it's a black skein of yarn. So it's not show off. It doesn't show off her capabilities by any means. But I have the ball band on this, so that's why I'm showing it. So it's Elsedina. That's how it's spelled. Okay, so her thing is exploring the cosmos one yarn at a time. And basically, she takes inspirational photos from the Hubble and other space telescopes, and she dyes yarn based off of them. This is what got me into indie dyers. I'm not even kidding. I don't know how. I think I probably found out about this through Reddit. But, oh my god, it's amazing. It's very high quality stuff. I've worked with it time and time again. I've worked with probably almost all of her bases by now. And if I haven't, I have some in stash and I'm going to work with it. So if you have any questions about like which bases are good for what things, I know she has a couple of different fingering weights, and one is the Intensity 150, and that comes in really striking colors. It's a very light fingering. I would not use it for socks, but I would use it for shawls. Vehemently use it for shawls. I mean maybe that's not the best word, but I would absolutely. I mean, it's so drapey and perfect, and I've used it for a couple of shawls. So this one's called the Space Between Galaxies because it's black and space, and also, yeah. But, oh man, I forgot to bring the ball band over for this one. I'm trying to remember the name, but she recently did this, Exosolar line, which is gradients, and it's awesome because they're in the blank, so they come in the blank, and you get to knit straight from them. So basically, you act like you're frogging something, you know, you could just grab an end and start pulling, and it comes out all squiggly. So then that does weird things to your tension and your gauge. Well, not really your gauge or your tension. How to describe it? It makes your whip look really weird for a bit, and then you block it and it looks better. If you want, you can look at my stuff. And what I've actually done is I made a mini skein with some of my leftovers, and I actually just hung it and weighted it, and that totally got all the kinks out. So if you don't like it kinky when you're knitting with it, you can make it into a skein using a knitting knotty and then weight it, or just put it into a cake, and I'm sure the tension, everything will be fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, so this is a gradient, and if you want to check out my stash page, I've got about 5 or 6 different gradients probably. I don't know. I lost count. When I was buying them, I lost count, which is not a good thing, but it is a good thing at the same time. I spent a lot of money when this line came out. But it's a gradient, and as you can see, there's 2 ends, so it kind of goes from like a darker green. And this is very much like a seafoam, almost minty green. I don't know. It kind of goes from, this is a little brighter. It's not showing up as bright as it is. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like a darker shade than the rest of it. So, and then it goes to a blue green, and then back to a more green. I'm trying to think of words for greens, but I'm at a loss right now because my brain is not working properly. It's hump day. all downhill from here. Save me. No. But I've done a number of things with Elsedina, and she has mostly fingering weights and DK weights. And she will do custom dyes. And if she takes requests too. I mean, not like immediately probably, but one time I was like, hey, you should dye something based off this picture because I like this picture, and she did. So yay. Yeah. So this is definitely a great luxury indie dyer. I have a lot of favorites, but this one is close to my heart because it's like the first one that I discovered. So she has a group on Ravelry. Feel free to join that, and you can check out what everybody's making. She has a shop on Etsy. So again, I'll just show you this in case you are persuaded now to buy some, and I will show you that's how it's spelled. If you lose track, just go to my stash page or my projects page, or really just anything that has to do with me. I'm sure I'll be talking about it. So that is the end of our spotlights. I wanted to have my administrative section, mission control. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. And I'm not really sure this really goes in administrative, but I wanted to, first off, I wanted to bring up again that I'm doing the NaNiSWEMO or whatever, National Knit a Sweater Month. And you're welcome to join, and you're absolutely welcome to just knit along. Finished objects, you have to have like it be a sweater that has 50,000 stitches or more, because that's not my rule. That's just the thing that it is. Several groups are doing this. So it has to be an adult sweater, it has to be a sweater, and it has to be finished, aka wearable, by the end of the month. By the end of November. Not this month. That would be insane. Don't do that. You won't get any sleep. Sleep is good. But basically what I'm saying is just, if you can knit a sweater in a month, you should totally do it and totally get in on this, because there will be a prize. And because it's knitting a sweater in a month, and that's kind of not easy, I don't think there will be that many entries. We have 2 people who are going to knit along so far, not including me, and I'm not including myself for the prize drawing because I'm donating that. So if we get more than a certain amount of entries, I might up the number of prizes. I want everybody to have a good chance of getting a prize, but I think that 1 prize is enough, considering, for now, considering that, holy crap, there's, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. If I only have 2 people finish, I might just give a pattern to everybody. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. It depends on my budget too. But yeah, no, you should totally jump in on that. And even if you're knitting like a baby sweater or something, or if you're knitting a sweater and it's going to take you 2 months instead of 1, I totally encourage discussion. So, because then you never know, you might just like get a week off work or something and be able to knit all the time and then finish it. I don't know. Things happen. So you're more than welcome to join me. I will be knitting I Heart Aran in Cascade 220. And it's going to be red, and it's going to be pretty. And I'm looking forward to using it because this is really old stash for me. So that'll be nice. The other thing I wanted to discuss is there is a mystery knit along going on that, I mean, I'm not talking about the Stephen West one, actually. I know that's what you thought. I am opting not to do the Stephen West mystery knit along. And the reason for that is, A, I have a tendency to overbook myself, and I really need to stop doing knit alongs. Not stop entirely, but slow down on them. And the other reason is that I think that Stephen West has gotten a little unpredictable lately, and it's kind of a horse apiece now, whether or not I'll like his stuff. If it had been the mystery knit along like 2 or 3 years ago, I probably would have been like, yes, sign me up, because I loved all his stuff. But now some of his stuff is, I don't know, some of it's kind of simple. Like there's like an eyelet shawl that just is, I mean, it's really in what you do with it. Like the pattern could be really complicated if you did something, but it's really not complicated on its own. And the other thing is, some of his patterns I just really can't see myself wearing. Like last year's mystery knit along has big holes in it, and I'm just not sure I would like that. Personal preference. I mean, I don't dislike it. I just think that if I have to choose which mystery knit along I'm going to be a part of, because otherwise I'd be overbooking myself, I think I'm going to choose a designer that I like all of their stuff. And so I'm doing the Geoknitrix, which is Josh, which is sort of a knitter. I'm doing his Glaciation mystery knit along. And that's why I chose to, well, not why I chose to show this yarn, but why I chose to show you these colors. It's because this is my pick. This is what I picked out for that. I think it'll be awesome. You need 2 colors. You need 440 yards, which is a lot. So I highly, well, it's a fingering weight. It calls for a fingering weight, but you'll either need like 150 grams or you'll need like a light fingering weight, because that 450 yards is not like if you use less than that, or if you have less than that, you'll use every single yard and then maybe some extra. I don't know. So I'm looking forward to that. Josh's mystery knit-alongs are really fun, and I've done 2 of them now, which is more than I've done by, I think it's like 2 of my 3 total mystery knit-alongs. But Josh's are the best. They always have like a surprise or a twist or something unexpected, and I think they're more fun to see taking shape than a lot of other patterns. Personal opinion, but yeah, you should totally check it out. And if you want to chat about here, go for it. If you want to chat about over there, go for it. I don't want to put a thread in my group just because I don't want to like confuse people if they think they're posting at Josh's and then aren't. I don't know. I just think it'd be confusing if there are multiple threads for the same mystery knit-along. But yeah, by all means, we can talk about it. So I guess that brings us to life support. So if you don't want to hear about my life, bye. Have fun knitting and stuff. But I think that there's a couple things I would talk about, and one is space news, which I really should talk about because something actually happened this week. I feel like space news, even in this podcast, I've got hair in my face. Even in this podcast, I feel like space news is kind of optional because, I mean, stuff's always happening, but then important stuff isn't always happening. And the main thing that's going on right now is that a rocket exploded. In case you didn't hear, NASA tried to launch a rocket and it didn't work. And I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised. I've been a huge space program buff since I was a kid. I was really shocked when the current government administration decided to cancel the space shuttle program and defund or remove funds from the program that was supposed to follow, like, continue that. So basically, the space shuttle program, its purpose was to build the International Space Station, which is why it has that like hatch that opens in the back. It's got all that. You put stuff in it, and then you take it up, and then you take the stuff out and put it on the International Space Station. So due to obviously government funding issues, and not always just the United States government funding issues, but due to issues, the International Space Station wasn't done being built when the Space Shuttle program was canceled, and they didn't extend the Space Shuttle program. And so the other issue is that this International Space Station still needs to be refueled and have food and crap taken up there. So there was going to be the next program, which was Orion. They had a capsule designed. It was kind of reminiscent of the Apollo program in that it was supposed to be able to go to the space station to restock it, and then it was also going to go back to the moon and start colonization there. It was the Earth, Moon, Mars, and Beyond program. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. So it's kind of sad, but I mean, I get the opposing view that there are issues on Earth to solve, but honestly, I think that a lot of those problems can be solved through space travel. If you look into how much spaceflight has helped, I mean, you could make the argument that we would have come across those things anyway, but what motivation would we have had? I mean, it's not like if you're putting funding towards trying to keep people alive in a really hostile environment, I think that you'll just learn things about how the human body works and what is sustainable. I mean, really, spaceflight is the ultimate sustainability practice. You don't get to just like dig up some coal and burn it, in the middle of space. You have to have all your reserves there. You have to rely on solar power. You have to recycle your pee. I mean, it's really the ultimate exercise in sustainability. And So I mean, I just think that it could help so many things if we just kept doing that, but we're not. So I get it, but then again, I don't get it. I could talk all day on the subject. My degree is actually in aerospace engineering, so and I've been really passionate about space since I was about 10. So yeah, don't get me started. I do that enough on my own. But yeah, I'm not really surprised that the rocket exploded, just because we're starting to privatize stuff that NASA's doing or should be doing, and I usually have no problem with privatization, but in this case, I feel like NASA has a huge institutional history in that NASA knows what's going on. I mean, they've done. It's not like this is the first time we've ever launched a rocket. I mean, if it were the Mercury program, I would be a little more understanding of rockets exploding, because that's what happened there. I mean, we had to rely on the expertise of Wernher von Braun, who was a German scientist in World War II, who we captured in Operation Paperclip and got him before the Russians. But, I mean, in the early days, there was a political push to have United States engineers build their own rockets and not rely on Nazi technology for obvious reasons. And that didn't work out so well because, I mean, if somebody has practiced doing something, it's always better to ask them for help. Always. So basically, the first Mercury rockets the first rockets that were intended to launch the Mercury capsule exploded. And then we started using the Redstone rockets, which Wernher von Braun was key in developing. So now basically we're going back to what we tried to do in the late 50s and early 60s, which is try to build a rocket from scratch. It doesn't work, folks. It doesn't work. You should just rely on experience. Okay. But anyway, yeah, that's my opinion. Man. Yeah, take it or leave it, but yeah, that happened, so you should look it up and pay attention to what's going on, because space stuff is happening. So I wouldn't say that necessarily directly pertains to my life, but I thought I'd put it here because it's not related to knitting, and that way, if you're interested in only knitting and outer space, you can stop here and leave. Bye. So here's the stuff that's pertinent to me. And I'll try to be quick because I don't really want to take up your entire day talking about myself. I started a fitness class on Fitocracy, which is a website. It basically is kind of like a RPG or like a video game that gives you points for working out. And I started using it when it was brand new in like 2011, and then I stopped using it because I don't really work out very often. Or I didn't used to. And basically, it's changed a lot since then. It's basically now it's more of like an online gym / social network and a bunch of other stuff. And so the fitness class, I've got trainers who I believe have helped train like superheroes in movies like Captain America and Black Widow and that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't pay attention to any of this stuff. I mean, I do pay attention to the movies, but not the actors and actresses as much. And their training. But basically, they built us a workout, and it's intense. And then they built us like a diet. So right now I'm doing a basically no carb diet. They've limited us to 50 grams of carbs, and that's supposed to be all veggies. So my brain has gone on temporary hiatus. This is only for 10 days, but basically my brain is being starved of energy until it figures out that it can burn fat instead of carbs. So my brain energy levels are a little lower than, I mean, this is just what they explained to me. I am an engineer and not a physical sciences or human body expert, so anything I'm saying, just look it up or take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know anything. I'm just repeating what I'm told. The workouts are pretty great. I can tell that they work every single body in my muscle. You know what I mean. I'm tired. My legs are especially tired. Walking is not fun anymore. Like, standing up is difficult. And this has never happened to me before, but I'm glad it's happening because I know that it's working. But basically, I'm trying really hard to follow the rules of the diet and the workouts. Today is a rest day, so this actually worked out pretty well with my podcasting schedule. I think next week to Monday is the rest day, so maybe I'll record on Monday, and then I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not gonna plan that far ahead. But the past couple days, I've just been basically coming home from work, eating, working out, and like doing a couple rows and then going to bed, which is why I thought I'd have Nenir done by now. I usually can do several rows, like a lot of rows on that, and I've just only gotten a couple done the past couple times. So it doesn't help that Nenir is really brain intense. So I have to use my brain, and my brain is not happy with that fact. So that's kind of what's going on there. Kind of is a complication because this weekend's Halloween, and Halloween means getting dressed up and doing stuff. And I don't really, I mean, I live in Iowa right now, and I don't know a lot of people in my area. So my boyfriend and I were going to go to Wisconsin this weekend and hang out with his friends. And my boyfriend has an awesome Halloween costume. He's going to be Ace Ventura. So he's got like a Hawaiian shirt, and he's gonna get like a wife beater like tank top thing for guys to put underneath it. And then we went to the thrift store and bought pinstriped pants that he can like pull up to his chest and belt buckle. So he's got a hair appointment too. He's gonna get his hair done. Personally, I'm just gonna wear a Star Trek uniform. And I'm going to wear it to work, and I don't care what anybody says. It looks business casual enough that, you know, it's more than suitable for my workplace, I think. But basically, I went to a Star Trek thing at Mall of America this fall, and I bought a Star Trek uniform, including the top and then some like pips and the com badge and stuff. So I'm just basically going to throw on pants, like black slacks that I have for work, and call it a day. I'm not a huge dresser upper. I feel like I could be because I knit, so I have like that. If I plan it far enough in ahead, I could do stuff with that. But I don't really ever dress up. So this will be fun. I figure that it's a neat costume too because in the future I can buy Vulcan ears or like Andorian like antennae and like paint my face blue. I could probably do stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. It would be a pretty easy costume to throw together every year, and it's also not character specific. So it's not like I'm going as Spock or Uhura or anything like that. That would be like difficult to do because of my gender and ethnicity. So I'm just gonna go as me if I were in Starfleet. It works. Plus, it's going to be slightly like warmer than wearing a typical Halloween costume for girls. I live in the Midwest. We don't usually do usually our Halloween costumes are as bundled up as we can get and then stuff on top of that. I see some of the Halloween costumes, you guys know what I mean, where I can't imagine that people would be warm. No judgment whatsoever if they want to do that, but I would be cold. It's not worth it. So that's kind of what's going on for me. I think that this weekend, I'm trying to figure out right now if, we've decided we're going to go, which was a difficult decision for me because my Halloween costume isn't that great. It's pretty cool, but it's not like the greatest idea ever. And it's going to be difficult for me to work out, to get my workouts in, and to get the right food in me when I'm traveling. So that'll be a challenge. And then when I get there, if we stay, we don't know if we're just going to be staying Friday or if we're going to be staying Friday and Saturday. Well, Saturday I have to work out, and if I work out on Friday, I could just work out in the morning. But if I work out on Saturday, I don't know where I'm going to do that, or if, you know, I mean, I don't want to impose, you know, if I have to shower afterwards or anything like that. We'll see, but it'll work out. But that's kind of my news, and I would love to hear what you guys are doing for Halloween, especially if you've done something crafty. A lot of people do something crafty to supplement their Halloween costumes or their kids' Halloween costumes. I would love to hear about that, and go ahead and post in the forums. If I haven't set up a general chatter thread, I will. Go ahead and chat about Halloween, about what you're doing, about what you're knitting. I love seeing works in progress. I love seeing FOs. And yeah, I hope you decide to join me to either knit the shawl or the sweater in November, or both, if you want to quit your job and knit all the time. But yeah, I hope to hear from y'all, and see you next time. Bye.